Hari Om, Jai Maa Kali. Welcome to the Kali Code presented by Spiritually Wealthy Gurukul. Before we begin, take a deep breath, close your eyes for a moment and silently invoke Divine Mother. Ma, please guide me. Reveal what I truly need to know. If the first card you have received for the month of July is Dakshina Kali, know that this is not a message of fear, it is a message of profound reassurance. The Divine Mother is not warning you that darkness is coming. This is reminding you that even if you are walking through darkness, you are not walking alone. This month begins not with uncertainty but grace. Let us prepare ourselves to receive divine grace. Before every oracle reading, we are reminded that greatest technique is not how we shuffle the cards, but how we surrender our heart. The cards become sacred mirror only when the mind becomes quiet. Let us invoke Mother with reverence, release expectations, invoke Maa Kali sincerely, and allow the guidance to arise naturally. The real prayer is simple. Ma, let thy wisdom guide me instead of my fears. When intention becomes pure, intuition naturally awakens. The sages of yoga tell us, Yogas chitta vritti nirodha. Yoga is stilling of fluctuation of mind. When the waves of the mind settle, intuition is no longer downloaded out of anxiety. The whispers of the divine become easier to recognize. This is why simple practice such as conscious breathing, mindful observation are not merely rituals. They are preparation for inner listening. Dakshina Kali first asks us to become inwardly still. Who is Dakshina Kali? The word Dakshina carries two beautiful meanings. One refers to southern direction, traditionally associated with transformation. The second means sacred offering, given with the reverence and gratitude. These two meanings beautifully unite in this card. Transformation begins only when seeker is willing to offer something sacred. Yet the mother already owns the entire universe. What then can we offer to her? Not wealth, not elaborate rituals, not external display. The only offering Ma truly accepts is a heart filled with sincerity, trust, humility, and surrender. That is the real Dakshina, the symbolism of Dakshina Kali. Notice her from a dark complexion, reminds us infinite mystery of which all creation emerges. Her sword represents the power of wisdom that cuts through fear and ignorance. Her blessing hands assures us that divine protection accompanies a sincere effort. Most importantly, her right foot steps forward. This is the heart of today's message. Do not remain frozen. Move forward, not recklessly, not impulsively, but courageously. Faith is not absence of fear, faith is movement despite of fear. The Divine Mother speaks. If the Dakshina Kali has appeared for you this month, perhaps you are standing before an important decision. You may be facing uncertainty in your career, a challenge in your business, question about your finances, healing within your relationships, or in a struggle that no one else can see. Your mind wants certainty before taking next step, but Ma smiles compassionately and says, take the first step. I shall illuminate the path as you walk. Fear is not your enemy. Many seekers believe fear itself is the obstacle. But fear is often only a doorway. It reveals the places where trust has not yet matured. When fear appears, we usually react in one of the three ways. We run away, we become paralyzed, or we surrender to the divine guidance and continue walking. Dakshina Kali invites the third response, the wisdom from the Bhagavad Gita. Lord Krishna reminds Arjuna, Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala heturbuhu ma te sangotsva karmani. You have choice only over your actions, never over the results. Therefore, let not fruits of action become your motive, not let your attachment to the inaction. You have a choice only over your actions, never over the results. Therefore, let not the fruits of action become your motive, nor let your attachment be to inaction. How beautifully this reflects Dakshina Kali. Fear often arises because we want guarantees. Krishna teaches action without attachment. Dakshina Kali teaches movement without fear. Together they reveal the path of Karma Yoga, creating order from chaos. Perhaps your life currently feels disorganized. Plans are changing, relationships are shifting, financial pressure may be testing your patience, old identities may be dissolving. From the perspective of the ego, everything appears chaotic. From the perspective of Divine Mother, a higher order is quietly emerging. The caterpillar experiences dissolution. The butterfly experiences birth. The process is the same. Only the perspective changes. Do not mistake transformation for destruction. The dark night before dawn. One of the deepest teachings of Dakshina Kali is that darkness is often the final preparation before sunrise. Just as the longest night eventually gives away the dawn, difficult phases in life frequently prepares profound awakening. This period is not punishment, this is preparation. The Divine Mother is not abandoning you, she is strengthening you. The highest manifestation. Modern spirituality often teaches us to control reality. Dakshina Kali teaches something subtler. The highest manifestation is not force, it is surrender. When the ego relaxes its desperate need to control every outcome, the intelligence of divine begins to operate more clearly through our lives. This surrender is not passivity. It is complete participation without inner resistance. Compassion through awakening. As spiritual maturity grows, something remarkable happens. We stop seeing enemies everywhere. Instead, we begin recognizing wounded hearts. Those who hurt others are often carrying pain they have never understood. Compassion naturally replaces resentment. This does not mean allowing injustice. It means responding from wisdom instead of reaction. The mother softens the heart while strengthening the spirit. Practical guidance for July. If Dakshina Kali has appeared for you this month, stop postponing the action you know is right. Trust divine timing even when outcomes remain hidden. Practice conscious breathing every day. Spend time in silence to sharpen intuition. Offer something simple to Maa Kali with genuine love rather than grandeur. Heal relationships through understanding instead of blame. Walk one step every day towards your highest dharma. Remember, progress is created by consistent movement, not perfect certainty. Mantra for contemplation. Om Krim Kalikayai Namaha. Om Krim Kalikayai Namaha. Om Krim Kalikayai Namaha. Salutations to the goddess Kali, the transformative Divine Mother. Allow this mantra to remind you that every sincere step taken in faith invites divine companionship. Beloved seeker, July begins with a sacred promise. The Divine Mother is not asking you to eliminate fear before you move. She is asking you to discover a courage that is greater than fear. The true Dakshina is not gold, flower, or ritual. The true Dakshina is your willingness to offer your ego, your doubts, your fears, and your heart into her compassionate hands. And that offering becomes genuine, you will realize a profound truth. You are never walking alone. Maa Dakshina Kali has been walking beside you all along. Hari Om Jai Maa Kali, Har Har Mahadev. Hari Om Jai Maa Kali. In the first chapter of our July journey, Dakshina Kali invited us to take the first courageous step. She taught us that courage is not absence of fear, but the willingness to move despite it. Now that the seeker has begun walking, the Divine Mother reveals the second stage of transformation. For every new beginning, something old must come to an end. The second card, Khadga Kali, appears with a sacred sword, not to punish but to liberate. This is not the sword of violence, it is the sword of truth. It cuts only that which prevents the soul from realizing its own freedom. The sacred meaning of Khadga. The Sanskrit word Khadga means a sword, a sacred blade, a spiritual weapon. In the hands of Maa Kali, the sword is not directed towards the world outside us. It is turned inward. It cuts unhealthy attachment. It removes stagnation. It reveals reality. The Divine Mother asks a simple but penetrating question. What are you still holding that your soul has already outgrown? The symbolism of the sword. Notice the imaginary of an oracle card. The shining blade represents clarity. The golden handle reminds us that the wisdom must always be held with reverence. The skull symbolizes the old identities, worn-out beliefs, and ego structures that have completed their purpose. The red thread signifies that the sacred connection between destruction and renewal. Nothing is removed without making space for something higher. Why we remain attached? One of the deepest observations in this session is that human beings often become attached even to suffering. Pain can become familiar. An unhealthy relationship may feel safer than loneliness. A limiting career may feel safer than uncertainty. An old identity may feel safer than discovering who we truly are. An old identity may feel safer than discovering who we truly are. The conditioned mind whispers, "At least I know this pain." But the soul quietly responds, "You were created for freedom." This is the tension that Khadga Kali resolves. The Bhagavad Gita on the sword of knowledge. The Krishna declares, "Tasmad ajnana sambhutam rutsam gnānāśinātmanah chitvainam sanshayam yogam tishtotishta bharata." Meaning, therefore with the sword of knowledge cut asunder this doubt in your heart, both of ignorance, establish yourself in yoga and rites, O Bharata. How beautifully this complements Khadga Kali. Krishna speaks of the sword of knowledge. Maa Kali embodies the very wisdom. Both invites us to remove ignorance, not by escaping life, but by seeing it clearly. The attachment that no longer serve. This month, Khadga Kali may reveal attachment in many forms. Perhaps you have become attached to an identity that no longer reflects your authentic self. Perhaps an emotional wound has become part of your personality. Perhaps you continue carrying guilt that has already fulfilled its purpose. Perhaps fear of failure has prevented you from answering your dharma. The mother does not condemn these attachments. She simply asks whether they still serve your highest evolution. If your answer is no, then time for release has arrived. Divine intervention. Sometimes we willingly release what has completed his purpose. Sometimes we resist. When resistance becomes prolonged, divine grace may appear in a form we do not immediately recognize. A door closes, a relationship changes, opportunity ends, a certainty disappears. From the perspective of the ego, this feels like loss. From the perspective of the soul, it is often liberation. The mother is not taking something away, she is creating space for what truly belongs to you. The courage to let go. Letting go is rarely comfortable. It may bring grief, it may bring uncertainty, it may even feel like symbolic death. But every authentic spiritual tradition teaches that transformation always requires the dissolution of an earlier identity. A seed must break before it becomes a tree. A cocoon must open before a butterfly can fly. Likewise, the soul must release what has become too small for its expansion, the trap of saving everyone. Khadga Kali also exposes a subtle attachment. Some seekers become so busy healing everyone else that they neglect their own inner life. They confuse self-sacrifice with self-forgetting. True compassion never asks you to abandon your own well-being. Vedanta reminds us that genuine service flows from inner fullness, not inner depletion. When you stand established in your own self, your presence itself becomes a blessing to the world. Every ending conceals a beginning. One of the most comforting teachings of this card is divine intelligence never removes something meaningful without opening possibility for something deeper. When one chapter ends, another quietly begins. The ending may not yet reveal the new path, But the trust does not require complete visibility. Trust requires remembering who walks beside you. The seeker who met Dakshina Kali in the first chapter now discovers that the same compassionate mother also holds the sword. Her compassion, her firmness are not opposite. They are expression of the same unconditional love. A practice for this month. Set aside a few quiet moments each day. Close your eyes. Breathe gently. Visualize Maa Kali standing before you with radiant compassion. See her sacred sword glowing with divine light. Silently pray, Ma, please free me from every attachment that prevents my spiritual evolution. Grant me the courage to release what no longer serves my highest good and wisdom to welcome what you have prepared for me. With every exhalation, imagine old fears, unhealthy dependencies, limiting beliefs, and emotional burdens dissolving into her infinite presence. Allow yourself to become inwardly higher. Mantra for contemplation. Om Krim Kalikayai Namaha. Om Krim Kalikayai Namaha. Om Krim Kalikayai Namaha. Salutations to the goddess Kali, the transformative divine mother. Chant this mantra with the feeling that every repetition gently loosens another knot of attachment within the heart. Beloved seeker, the second chapter of July is not about losing what you love. It is about releasing what prevents you from becoming love itself. Dakshina Kali taught you to take the first courageous step. Now Khadga Kali teaches you to travel lightly. The sword of Divine Mother is never raised against you. It is raised against your fear, your illusion, every chain that has convinced you to settle for less than your true nature. Trust her wisdom. Release with gratitude. Walk forward with faith. For what the Divine removes is never your destiny. It is only obstacles standing between you and it. In the next chapter, Maa Chinnamasta will reveal deepest offering of all, not merely letting go of external attachments, but surrendering the very ego that claims ownership over them. Hari Om Jai Maa Kali, Har Har Mahadev. Hari Om Jai Maa Kali, beloved seeker, our journey through July has now reached its sacred midpoint. The first card, Dakshina Kali, taught us to walk through the fear with trust. The second, Khadga Kali, placed the divine sword in our lives, cutting away the attachment that no longer serves our highest evolution. And now the Divine Mother reveals an even deeper mystery. For even after fear subsides, attachment begins to dissolve, one final attachment still remains. And it is the attachment to the one who says, I. This is the profound teaching of Maa Chinnamasta. At first glance, her form appears startling. She stands holding her own severed head, while three streams of life flow from her neck. For centuries, many have misunderstood the sacred image. But the mother is not revealing violence. She is revealing freedom. She is showing us that what must be cut is not the body. It is a false identity that believes itself separate from divine. The compassion hidden within the fierce form. When I first saw Maa Chinnamasta, I felt afraid, yet an inner voice gently reminded me, she is still your divine mother, open your eyes. How often do we close our eyes before life's difficulty experiences? How often do we avoid uncomfortable truths because they disturb our familiar identity? Maa Chinnamasta lovingly invites us to look again. Sometimes the experience we fear most becomes doorway to the greatest awakening. The traditional story tells us that after bathing in the sacred waters of Mandakini river, the Divine Mother's companions, Jaya and Vijaya, become intensely hungry. There was nothing immediately available to nourish them. Out of boundless compassion, the mother did something unimaginable. She severed her own head. From her neck flowed three streams of life. One nourished Jaya, one nourished Vijaya, one nourished Mother herself. To the ordinary mind, the story appears impossible. To the awakened heart, it reveals the highest truth. True love gives without losing itself. True sacrifice nourishes others without abandoning the self. The three streams of consciousness, the three streams flowing from Maa Chinnamasta, symbolizes the subtle channels described in yogic wisdom. The Ida Nadi represents the cooling lunar current, intuition, receptivity, and inwardness. The Pingla Nadi represents the warming solar current, action, vitality, and expression. The Sushumna Nadi is a central channel through which higher consciousness awakens. When these energies remain unbalanced, life swings between extremes. When they become harmonized, awareness naturally rises towards self-realization. Thus, Chinnamasta is not merely a goddess of sacrifice, she is a goddess of awakened consciousness. The head that must fall. What then does the severed head truly represent? It is not destruction of life, it is the dissolution of ego. Not the healthy personality needed to function in this world, but the false identification that says, I am only this body, I am only my achievements, I am only my failures, I am only my story. Maa Chinnamasta gently severs every identity that limits the infinite self. The body changes, thought changes, relationship changes, role changes, but pure awareness, the witnessing consciousness, remains untouched. The wisdom of the Bhagavad Gita. Lord Krishna reveals the eternal truth. Vasansi jirnani yatha vihaya navani gruhnati naroparani तथा शरीराणि विहाय जीर्णानि अन्यानि संयाति नवानि तेहि तथा शरीराणि विहाय जीर्णानि अन्यानि संयाति नवानि तेहि. Just as person discards worn-out garments and puts on new ones, so too the embodied self casts off the worn-out bodies and takes on the others that are new. The deeper Vedantic insight extends beyond the physical body. The self is never diminished by changing forms through which it expresses. Old identities may dissolve, the self remains ever complete. This is the silent teaching of Maa Chinnamasta. Transformation is already underway. If this card appears for you, something within you is already changing. Perhaps an old way of thinking no longer satisfies you. Perhaps ambitions that once defined your life have begun to lose their hold. Perhaps relationships, careers, habits, or beliefs are naturally reaching completion. Do not mistake this for loss. You are not becoming less. You are becoming more authentic. The mother is not taking away your essence. She is revealing it. Transforming life force. Maa Chinnamasta is also associated with tremendous creative energy. Life force itself is sacred. The teaching is never separation, it is transformation. The same energy that becomes attachment can become devotion. The same energy that becomes desire can become creativity. The same energy that seeks outward fulfillment can become longing for truth. When redirected with awareness, every force within us becomes a vehicle for awakening. The courage to die before death. One of the most beautiful teachings of this card is spiritual growth. Ask us to die before your body dies. Not physically, psychologically. The ego resists surrender because it mistakes change for extinction, but what disappears is only illusion. What remains is your eternal nature. This is why the sages of Advaita Vedanta reminds us that liberation is not becoming something new, it is recognizing what has always been. The practice for this month is sit quietly for a few moments each day. Observe your thoughts without judgment. Ask yourself gently, who is the one experiencing these thoughts? Watch every label arise. Profession, parent, teacher, success, failure, praise, criticism. Allow each identity to appear and dissolve. Rest as a silent witness that remains unchanged. Offer every false identity into compassionate hands of Maa Chinnamasta. Mantra for contemplation. Shreem, Hreem, Kleem, Aim, Vajravirochanai, Hum, Phat, Swaha. Shreem, Hreem, Kleem, Aim, Vajravirochanai, Hum, Phat, Swaha. Shreem, Hreem, Kleem, Aim, Vajravirochanai, Hum, Phat, Swaha. May the radiant divine Mother Chinnamasta awaken higher consciousness within me. dissolve ignorance, sever the bonds of ego, and guide me towards spiritual freedom. Chant this mantra with reverence, allowing each repetition to become an offering of all self into the fire of divine wisdom. Beloved seeker, July has now reached its deepest inner turning point. Dakshina Kali taught us to walk. Khadga Kali taught us to release. Now Chinnamasta teaches you to discover who walks, who releases, and who has always been free. The greatest sacrifice is not wealth, it is the surrender of the mistaken identity that has carried fear, pride, and limitation for so long. That false identity quietly falls away, nothing real is lost. Only illusion disappears, and that sacred silence, the Divine Mother whispers the truth that Advaita Vedanta has proclaimed through the ages. You were never the ego, you were never the limitation, you were always being limitless self. In the next chapter of our July journey, Maa Chamunda will reveal how this awakened understanding becomes a strength to conquer the subtle inner enemies that still seek to bind the mind. Hari Om. Jai Maa Chinnamasta, Jai Maa Kali, Har Har Mahadev. Hari Om, Jai Maa Kali. Beloved seeker, the sacred journey of July continues to unfold. In the first chapter, Dakshina Kali taught us to move beyond fear. In second, Khadga Kali severed the attachments that kept us bound. In third, Maa Chinnamasta invited us to surrender the false identity itself. Now, after fear has been faced, attachment released, and ego humbled, another question arises. How do we live in this awakened state while moving through the world? This is where Maa Chamunda appears. She does not come to frighten the sincere seeker. She comes to protect the awakened heart, the fierce face of compassion. Many people encounter Chamunda for the first time and are overwhelmed by her fierce appearance. Her fiery eyes, her garland of skulls, her powerful form, her presence upon the battlefield. Yet every aspect of her iconography carries a profound spiritual message. The fiercer the mother appears, the greater the protection she is offering. A mother who sees danger approaching does not whisper from distance. She steps forward with strength. Chamunda is that protective strength of Divine Mother. Her fierceness is compassion expressed through courage. The battle is within. The story of Chamunda defeating Chanda and Munda is not merely mythological event. It is a map of our own inner life. Chanda symbolizes the impulsive aggression, arrogance, and uncontrolled passion. Munda symbolizes the dullness, ignorance, and unconscious living. Every sincere seeker discovers that these forces do not merely exist in the world, they occasionally arise within the mind itself. After Chinnamasta dissolved the false I, Chamunda now protects the awakened awareness from falling back into old conditioning. This is why she appears at this stage of one's journey. The three eyes of wisdom. Chamunda's three radiant eyes remind us that divine vision is not limited by time. She sees the past without regret, the present without confusion, the future without anxiety. For the seeker, this becomes an invitation to cultivate same awareness. When we live only through memory, suffering grows. When we live only through imagination, fear grows. When we rest in the present with alert awareness, wisdom naturally shines. The mother sees completely because she is established in the truth. She invites us to do the same. Protection is also grace. Many seekers pray for blessings but hesitate when life begins removing what quietly harms them. A friendship changes. An unhealthy habit becomes impossible to ignore. A toxic environment no longer feels comfortable. A false opportunity slips away. We sometimes interpret these moments as loss. Chamunda asks us to see them differently. Protection is not always addition. Sometimes protection is divine subtraction. The mother lovingly removes what threatens the flowering of your dharma. The Bhagavad Gita on inner victory. Lord Krishna describes the qualities of one who mastered the inner battlefield. Yes sarvatra abhisneha tattas prapya shubha shubham nabhinandati na dveshti tasya prajna pratishtita. He who is free from unhealthy attachment everywhere, who neither rejoices upon obtaining the pleasant nor hates when encouraging the unpleasant, his wisdom is firmly established. Chamunda does not merely destroy negativity, she helps establish this steady wisdom. The true warrior is not one who conquers the people. The true warrior is the one who remains established in clarity amidst praise, criticism, gain, loss, success, and failure. The real enemies. After years of spiritual practice, we begin to discover that greatest obstacles are rarely external. They appear as self-doubt, fear disguised as practicality, the need for constant approval, victim mentality, resentment, jealousy, limiting beliefs. This subtle tendencies quietly drain our energy. Chamunda does not condemn them. She exposes them. For only what is brought into the light can truly be transformed. Healthy strength. One of the beautiful psychological teachings in the session is the distinction between healthy strength and destructive force. Healthy strength protects. It creates boundaries. It serves dharma. It acts with responsibility. Unhealthy force seeks domination. It manipulates. It controls. It exploits. Chamunda destroys the second while strengthening the first. This teaching applies equally to every seeker regardless of gender. Spiritual maturity never weakens a person. It refines the strength with compassion. The discipline of truth. The numerology of this card reduces to number 4, a symbol of foundation, stability, and disciplined living. Knowledge alone cannot transform us. Only knowledge that becomes action changes our life. It is one thing to understand forgiveness. It is another to forgive. It is one thing to appreciate courage, and it is another to act courageously. Chamunda invites us to embody wisdom. Truth becomes transformative only when it is lived. Listening to intuition. The Divine Mother often protects us long before the danger becomes obvious. That quiet inner hesitation, that persistent feeling that something is not aligned, that gentle voice encouraging us to step away. These are often expressions of divine intelligence moving through intuition. When the mind becomes quieter, as Dakshina Kali taught us, intuition becomes clearer. When attachment dissolves, as Khadga Kali taught us, we stop clinging to unhealthy situations. When ego softens, as Chinnamasta taught us, we become willing to listen. Now Chamunda teaches us to trust what the heart already knows. A practice for this month. Spend a few minutes in silent reflection. Ask yourself, where in my life am I compromising my truth? What relationship, habit, belief, or environment quietly weakens my inner strength? Offer this honestly to Divine Mother. Pray, Maa Chamunda, grant me the courage to stand in truth. Protect me from what diminishes my spirit. Remove what no longer serves Dharma, and strengthen the wisdom to walk my path without fear. Allow your intuition to answer gently. Then honor that guidance with disciplined action. Mantra for contemplation. Om Aim Hrim Klim Chamundaye Vichit. Om Aim Hrim Klim Chamundaye Vichit. Om Aim Hrim Klim Chamundaye Vichit. Salutations to the Divine Mother Chamunda. May her wisdom protect me, remove obstacles, dissolve negativity, awaken spiritual strength, and establish me firmly in the path of truth. Chant this mantra with gratitude, feeling yourself surrounded by compassionate protection of Divine Mother. Beloved Seeker, the 4th chapter of July reveals the awakening must be protected. Dakshina Kali gave you courage. Khadga Kali freed your hands from unhealthy attachment. Chinnamasta freed your heart from the tyranny of false ego. Now Chamunda stands beside you as guardian of your spiritual life. She reminds you that protection is not always comfortable, but it is always compassionate. Whenever you choose truth over comfort, dharma over compromise, and awareness over unconscious habit, you invoke the living presence of Chamunda. Stand firm, walk with integrity, trust your intuition. For the Divine Mother is not merely watching over your journey, she is strengthening you from within. And as this inner strength becomes established, the next chapter of July unfolds naturally. With Kurukulla, the seeker discovers that once fear is transcended, attachment releases, ego surrendered, and truth protected, life begins to align effortlessly. What once had to chase now begins to flow through the quiet magnetism of heart established in Dharma. Hari Om Jai Maa Chamunda Jai Maa Kali Har Har Mahadev. Hari Om Jai Maa Kali. Beloved seeker, our sacred journey through the July approaching its culmination. The Divine Mother has been preparing you step by step. Dakshina Kali taught you to move despite fear. Khadga Kali removed the chains of unhealthy attachment. Maa Chinnamasta dissolved the false identity to obscure your true nature. Maa Chamunda awakened the courage to protect that inner truth. Now something extraordinary begins to unfold. After so much of inner purification, you no longer need to chase life. Life begins to respond to who you have become. This is the beautiful mastery of Kurukulla. She is not merely goddess of attraction, she is the goddess of alignment. She reminds us that highest manifestation is not forcing reality to obey our desires. It is becoming so aligned with Dharma that what is truly meant for us naturally finds its way into our lives. The divine magnetism of Maa Kurukulla. Maa Kurukulla is traditionally revered in Vajrayana Buddhism as an enlightened Dakshini, associated with magnetizing wisdom and compassionate activity. In the oracle, her appearance points to the universal spiritual principle. Transformation changes what we naturally attract. Her radiant red form symbolizes vitality, compassionate action, sacred love, and awakened creative energy. The green background reminds us that genuine manifestation must arise from healed heart. Together, they reveal an important truth. Passion without compassion becomes obsession. Compassion without purposeful action becomes passivity. Maa Kurukulla unites both. She teaches heart-centered action, the bow and the arrow. One of the most beautiful symbols on this card is a bow and arrow. An archer does not release an arrow carelessly. First comes stillness, then clarity, then focus. Only then does action becomes meaningful. The same principle applies to life. Many people exhaust themselves by scattering their energy across countless desires. Kurukulla gently asks, what truly matters to your soul? When your intention becomes pure, your energy becomes focused. When your energy becomes focused, your action becomes powerful. When your action becomes aligned with Dharma, blessings unfold naturally. The spiritual law of attraction. Modern culture often presents attraction as a technique of acquiring external success. Maa Kurukulla offers a much deeper understanding. She teaches, do not merely think differently, become different. The vibration that attracts grace is not wishful thinking, it is inner transformation. After fear has been faced, attachment released, ego surrendered, and truth embraced, the seeker's presence itself becomes magnetic. This is why Maa Kurukulla appears after Dakshina Kali, Khadga Kali, Chinnamasta, and Chamunda. The sequence is intentional. Transformation precedes manifestation. The Bhagavad Gita on devotion and alignment. Ananyas chintayanto mam ye janah paryopasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. Those who thinking of me alone with single-pointed devotion worship me constantly. To them who are ever steadfast, I carry what they lack and preserve what they already have. This verse beautifully reflects the deeper message of Kurukulla. The divine is not different. The divine is not indifferent to sincere effort. When the heart is established in devotion and aligned with Dharma, life begins to unfold with a quiet intelligence beyond personal striving. Release before you receive. Perhaps the most important teaching of Maa Kurukulla is beautifully simple. To receive, you must first release. Many seek prosperity while holding tightly to scarcity. They seek love while holding tightly to resentment. They seek peace while nurturing anxiety. They seek abundance while repeating stories of limitation. The mother lovingly asks, "What are you still carrying that leaves no room for my blessings?" Every fear releases becomes space for faith. Every limiting belief released becomes space for possibility. Every resentment released becomes space for love. Sacred love. Maa Kurukulla's love extends far beyond romantic relationships. She awakens self-respect. She restores emotional wholeness. She heals the heart. She teaches that the deepest relationship is one we cultivate with divine. When that relationship matures, every other relationship begins to find rightful place. Love no longer becomes desperate need. It becomes natural expression of completeness. Boundaries are compassion. One of the most practical teachings of session is especially relevant for those who guide, counsel, teach, heal, or support others. Compassion does not require emotional exhaustion. Kindness does not require the absence of boundaries. The mother teaches us to remain open without becoming energetically depleted. Healthy boundaries are not walls. They are expression of wisdom. By protecting our inner clarity, we preserve our ability to serve with love. A manifestation rooted in Dharma. This month may bring new opportunities in many forms. A meaningful relationship, a fresh direction in career or business, creative inspiration, financial improvement through right effort, renewed confidence, unexpected support. Yet, Maa Kurukulla gently reminds us, do not ask merely, how can I attract what I want? Ask instead, how can I become the person through whom Dharma naturally expresses itself? When this question becomes sincere, manifestation becomes effortless. A practice for this month. Sit quietly and place your attention in the heart. Take slow, conscious breaths. Reflect upon these questions. What fear still limits my ability to receive? What belief quietly tells me I am not enough? What blessings am I now ready to welcome with gratitude? Offer every limitations into compassionate presence of Divine Mother. Silently affirm, Ma, I release fear, doubt, and limitation. May my heart become aligned with truth. May I attract only that which supports Dharma, spiritual growth, and welfare of all. Rest for a few moments in silence. Allow gratitude to arise naturally. Mantra for contemplation. Om Kurukule Hri Swaha. Om Kurukule Hri Swaha. Om Kurukule Hri Swaha. Om Kurukule Hri Swaha. Meaning, salutations to Kurukulla, the enlightened Divine Mother whose compassionate magnetizing activity draws auspicious conditions, removes obstacles, and aligns the seeker's life with wisdom and dharma. Chant this mantra gently, not as a request for worldly gain, but as an invitation for your own heart to become worthy of blessings already moving towards you. Beloved seeker, the 5th chapter of July reveals one of the most beautiful secrets of spiritual path. The more you become established in your true nature, the less you need to force life. Grace begins to flow where resistance once existed. Opportunities arrive when fear once stood. Love blossoms where ego once demanded. Abundance flows where generosity has taken root. This is not magic, this is alignment. Dakshina Kali taught you to move. Khadga Kali taught you to release. Chinnamasta taught you to surrender the falsehood. Chamunda taught you to protect the truth you have discovered. Now Kurukulla teaches you to live from that truth. And when you do, life itself becomes the expression of divine harmony. The final chapter of July now awaits. With Kali Kalmāṣa Nāśinī, the Divine Mother completes the sacred pilgrimage by dissolving the final impurities of ignorance and revealing the ever pure self that has been present throughout the entire journey. Hari Om Jai Maa Kurukulla Jai Maa Kali Har Har Mahadev. Hari Om Jai Maa Kali. Beloved seeker, every sacred journey has a destination. As we arrive the final chapter of July, pause for a moment and look back at how the Divine Mother has gently guided you. Maa Dakshina Kali taught you to move beyond fear. Maa Khadga Kali helped release unhealthy attachment. Maa Chinnamasta dissolved the illusion of false self. Maa Chamunda strengthened you to protect the truth you had discovered. Maa Kurukulla awakened the magnetic power of heart aligned with Dharma. Now the Divine Mother reveals her final blessing. She comes as a Kali Kalmāṣa Nāśinī. She is not mother who judges. She is the mother who purifies. She is the one who reaches into the deepest darkness of human heart and gently says, "Come home." The mother who never gives up. The word Kalmāṣa means impurity, moral stain, ignorance, or the accumulated darkness that clouds the brilliance of soul. The Kali Kalmāṣa Nāśinī means she who destroys impurities of Kali Yuga. She who destroys the impurities of Kali Yuga. Notice the beauty of this title. She does not destroy the soul. She destroys only what hides the soul. Just as the sun removes the darkness without harming the sky, the Divine Mother removes the ignorance without diminishing our true nature. Her compassion is not reserved for the perfect. It is especially available to the sincere. No soul is forgotten. One of the most moving teachings of this session is no soul is ever abundant. Many people quietly carry burdens that no one else can see. Regret, guilt, shame. Memories of mistake, words spoken in anger, opportunities lost. Relationships broken. The mind keeps replaying the past, believing the redemption is no longer possible, but the Divine Mother looks beyond our mistakes. She sees our essence. She sees the light hidden beneath the dust of ignorance. She calls every sincere seeker back towards that light. The Bhagavad Gita on Divine Grace. Lord Krishna offers one of the most compassionate assurance in the entire Bhagavad Gita. Api chetsu duracharo bhajate mam ananyabhak sadhureva samantavyaha sammak vyavastito hisa. Kshipram bhavati dharmatma shashvaschanti nigacchati. Kshipram bhavati dharmatma shashvaschanti nigacchati. Kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. Even if a person of very sinful conduct worships me with single-pointed devotion, he should be regarded as righteous because his resolve is rightly directed. Soon he becomes virtuous and attains lasting peace. O Arjuna, declare boldly that my devotee never perishes. These verses beautifully illuminate the heart of Kali Kalmāṣa Nāśinī. Grace does not deny responsibility. Grace makes transformation possible. The power of pure intention. One of the deepest teachings of this card is that Divine Mother looks first at intention. She is not impressed by outward display. She is not persuaded by ritual without sincerity. She sees directly into the heart. Two people may perform the same action. One acts from pride, another acts from compassion. The external action appears identical. The inner intention transforms the spiritual value. This is why the purification of intention becomes one of the greatest forms of worship. Let the past remain in the past. The Mother gently reminds us what is done is done. Learning is necessary. Repentance is sacred. Growth is expected. But endless self-condemnation serves no one. Holding on to the guilt long after wisdom has been gained is another form of attachment. Earlier this month, Khadga Kali taught us release external attachments. Today, Kali Kalmāṣa Nāśinī asks us to release our attachment to our own painful history. You are not asked to deny your past, you are invited to stop living inside it. The real battle against darkness. Throughout July, we have discovered that greatest enemies are not outside us. Fear, attachment, ego, ignorance, limiting beliefs. Now the final impurity to be surrendered is subtle. The belief that we are permanently defined by our mistakes. Advaita Vedanta repeatedly reminds us that self is never stained by the experiences of the mind. Clouds may cover the sky itself remains untouched. Likewise, actions belong to the realm of body and mind. Pure consciousness remains ever free. The Divine Mother removes the ignorance so this truth may be directly recognized. The highest purification. The purification is not merely avoiding wrong actions. This is allowing wisdom to transform our entire way of living. Aggression becomes compassion, fear becomes courage, pride becomes humility, possessiveness becomes generosity, restlessness becomes peace. Every stage of month has quietly prepared us for the final transformation. Nothing has been accidental. Everything has been grace. A practice for this month: find a quiet place, sit comfortably, close your eyes, bring to mind anything you still carry with regret. Do not suppress it, do not justify it, simply place it in the compassionate hands of Divine Mother and pray slowly. Ma, whatever I have done, knowingly or unknowingly, may it become a source of wisdom rather than bondage. Purify my intentions. Strengthen my character. Help me live in harmony with Dharma. Let me never forget that compassion is greater than my mistakes. Then breathe gently. Allow forgiveness to rise, not because the past never happened, but because the heart is ready to walk forward. Mantra for contemplation. Om Krim Kalikayai Namah. Om Krim Kalikayai Namah. Om Krim Kalikayai Namaha. Salutations to the Mother Kali, the divine transformer who removes ignorance, purifies heart, and leads the seeker towards freedom. Repeat this mantra with gratitude, feeling every repetition washing away another layer of fear, guilt, and separation. The completion of July journey. Beloved seeker, the Divine Mother has brought you a place of remarkable inner transformation. You begin this month afraid, now you stand purified. You begin holding tightly to what no longer served you. Now your hands are open. You begin believing you were your limitations. Now you glimpse the eternal self beyond every changing identity. You begin believing you were your limitations. Now you glimpse the eternal self beyond every changing identity. You begin seeking blessing outside yourself. Now you recognize that the greatest blessing has always been awakening your own true nature. This has been the hidden thread woven through every card. Dakshina Kali awakened courage. Khadga Kali created freedom. Chinnamasta revealed the self beyond ego. Chamunda established fearless protection. Kurukulla aligned your heart with divine grace. And Kali Kalmāṣa Nāśinī has now removed the final veil of guilt and spiritual forgetfulness. The journey ends with Advaita Vedanta has always pointed, not in becoming someone new, but in recognizing what has always true. You are not the fear you experienced. You are not the attachment you released. You are not the ego that dissolves. You are not the mistake you regret. You are the witnessing consciousness in whose light these experiences appeared and disappeared. The Divine Mother did not create this truth. She lovingly removed everything that prevented from seeing it. As July becomes a close, may you walk into coming month with a purified heart, fearless courage, unwavering faith, and quiet certainty that no sincere step towards truth is ever lost. For the mother who called you at the beginning of this journey is the very mother who now whispers at the completion, "My child, you were never separated from me." Hari Om, Jai Maa Kali, Har Har Mahadev, Hari Om, Tat Sat. Hari Om, Jai Maa Kali, Har Har Mahadev. Welcome, dear seeker, to monthly Maa Kali Oracle prediction of July 2026. This month's reading is based on 6 sacred forms of Divine Mother: Maa Dakshina Kali, Maa Khadga Kali, Maa Chinnamasta, Maa Chamunda, Maa Kurukulla, Maa Kali, Kalmāṣa Nāśinī. These cards are not independent predictions. Together they reveal one continuous spiritual pilgrimage, a journey from fear through purification into self-recognition. This is not fortune telling. It is an invitation to awaken. The spiritual theme of July. If one sentence could summarize this month, it would be: the Divine Mother removes everything that prevents you from recognizing the fearless, pure, ever-free self. Throughout July, you may notice the life gently and sometimes firmly encourages you to let go of old patterns. Situations that once felt uncomfortable may longer. Relationships, beliefs, ambitions, and even aspects of your journey, aspects of your identity may be invited into transformation. This is not a month of punishment, it is a month of preparation. Maa Kali is not taking anything essential away from you. She is removing only what has become too small for your soul's evolution. The Divine Story of July. Chapter 1, Dakshina Kali. The month begins with fear. Perhaps uncertainty surrounds your career, health, finance, and relationship. The mother says, walk away. Faith is not waiting until fear disappears. Faith is taking the next step while remembering that Divine already walks beside you. Chapter 2, Khadga Kali. Once movement begins, the mother raises her sacred sword. She cuts unhealthy attachment, limiting beliefs, emotional dependency, expired chapters, false security. Whatever no longer supports your dharma may naturally begin to leave your life. Trust the process. Chapter 3, Maa Chinnamasta. Now comes the deepest transformation, not merely loss of external attachment, but surrender of this false I. The ego gradually loses its grip. Old identities dissolve. A quieter, deeper awareness begins to emerge. You discover that your essence was never the changing personality, it has always been pure consciousness. Chapter 4, Maa Chamunda. Awakening must now be protected. The mother destroys self-doubt, fear patterns, victim mentality, manipulation, inner negativity. She strengthens courage, discipline, intuition, and unwavering commitment to truth. You stop asking, what will people think? Instead, you begin asking, what is Dharma asking of me? Chapter 5, Maa Kurukulla. After purification comes alignment. You no longer chase blessings. Blessings begin finding you. New opportunities, meaningful relationships, creative inspiration, unexpected support, greater clarity. Your outer life begins reflecting your inner transformation. This is not because the universe suddenly changes. This is because your vibration has become aligned with Dharma. Chapter 6, Maa Kali Kalmāṣa Nāśinī. The month concludes with profound healing. The mother removes guilt, shame, spiritual fatigue, regret, inner heaviness. She reminds every seeker no sincere soul is ever abundant. July ends not with achievement but with peace. In career, this month of meaningful transition rather than immediate external rewards. If you have been feeling restless in your present role, that restlessness may actually be an invitation to grow. Projects requiring courage, integrity, and disciplined effort are likely to move forward steadily. Avoid making career decisions purely from the fear or temporary discomfort. Instead, ask, does this choice support my dharma and long-term growth? Those seeking employment may find progress through authentic networking, upskilling, and patient perseverance rather than hurried action. Business owners are encouraged to simplify, review existing system, release activities that consume energy without creating value, strengthen relationships built on trust rather than short-term gain. New collaborations may emerge naturally during the later part of the month, especially after outdated strategies are released. Act decisively but not impulsively. In money, financially, July emphasizes wisdom over accumulation. Avoid decisions driven by greed, panic, or comparison. Money earned through integrity tends to remain stable. Unexpected expenses may arise if old responsibilities have been neglected. Yet this also become opportunities to restore order. Cultivate gratitude for what you already have while planning carefully for future growth. In relationships, this month encourages emotional maturity. Some relationship may deepen through honest communication. Others may naturally reach completion. If someone walks away, resists the urge to chase. If recognition serves dharma, it may arise naturally through humility and understanding. Love flourishes when ego softens. In marriage, for married couples, July invites deeper listening and greater compassion. Avoid winning arguments. Choose understanding over being right. Couples willing to release old resentments can experience rewarded harmony. Those seeking marriage may attract healthier connections by first strengthening self-respect and emotional clarity. In family, healing conversations become possible. Old misunderstandings may finally be addressed with patience and sincerity. The Divine Mother encourages forgiveness without suppressed truth. Healthy boundaries remain an expression of love. In health, the month reminds us that emotional purification supports physical well-being. Stress, fear, and unsolved emotional burdens may manifest through fatigue or restlessness. Support your health with mindful breathing, adequate rest, nourishing food, moderate physical movement, quiet reflection, regular spiritual practice. Healing begins from within. Emotional well-being. The greatest emotional lesson of July is this: do not believe every thought, observe it. Understand it, release it. The witness within you remains untouched by pressing emotional storms. The witness within you remains untouched by passing emotional storms. The more you rest in awareness, the greater your inner freedom becomes. In spiritual growth, spiritually, July is one of the most transformative months of the year. The Divine Mother guides you through 6 sacred initiation. Fear becomes courage, attachment becomes freedom, ego becomes surrender, conflict becomes clarity, desire becomes alignment, guilt becomes compassion. Ultimately, the journey culminates in self-recognition. The purpose of spirituality is not becoming extraordinary, it is recognizing the extraordinary truth that has always been present. In challenges, you may encounter resistance to change, emotional attachment for familiar situations, fear of uncertainty, self-doubt, old memories resurfacing, temporary inner turbulence. Rather than resisting these experiences, receive them as opportunity for purification. Opportunities. July offer beautiful possibilities for personal reinvention, spiritual awakening, healing relationships, meaningful career direction, disciplined finance planning, deeper meditation, intuitive clarity, emotional freedom. The more sincerely you surrender, the more naturally these opportunities unfold. Monthly Vedantic lesson. Advaita Vedanta reminds us that bondage belongs to ignorance, not to the self. Every form of Maa Kali this month removes one layer of ignorance, fear, attachment, ego, inner enemies, misalignment, guilt. What finally remains is not something newly created, it is your own eternal nature. Bhagavad Gita wisdom. Tasmad ajnana sambhutam hristam gnana sinatmanah chitvainam sanshayam yogam tishto tishta bharata. Tasmad ajnana sambhutam hristam gnana sinatmanah chitvainam sanshayam yogam atishto tishta bharata. Meaning, therefore, with the sword of knowledge, cut asunder the doubt in your heart, born of ignorance. Establish yourself in yoga and arise, O Bharata. This verse beautifully summarizes the entire month. Every form of Divine Mother is, in essence, the sword of liberating knowledge, removing ignorance, and restoring the seeker to steadfastness in yoga. Monthly mantra Om Krim Kalikaya Namaha, Om Krim Kalikaya Namaha, Om Krim Kalikaya Namaha. Chant this mantra 108 times daily or for a few minutes with devotion, allowing it to become reminder for Mother's constant presence. Final practical actions for July. Begin each morning with 5 minutes of silent prayer, offering the day to Divine Mother. Release one habit, belief, or attachment that no longer supports your growth. Practice conscious breathing whenever fear or anxiety arises. Perform one of the kindness every day without expecting recognition or reward. Spend time each evening reflecting on where you acted from ego or where you acted from awareness, resolving to grow with humility. Monthly reflection questions. Where am I allowing fear to stop my growth? What attachment is my soul asking me to release? Which identity no longer reflects my true nature? How can I protect my peace while remaining compassionate? What blessing am I now prepared to receive? If I truly trusted the Divine Mother, what could I do differently this month? Special message from Maa Kali. My beloved child, do not fear the changes unfolding in your life. I have not come to take away your joy. I have come to remove everything that prevents you from discovering it. Walk with courage, release with trust, surrender with love, protect your inner truth, open your heart to my grace. No sincere prayer is unheard, no genuine effort is forgotten, no soul that turns towards me is ever abandoned. You have always been more than you fear, your past, your limitations. Recognize your true nature and you will discover that I have been with you every step of your journey. Community reflection. Which of the 6 Divine Mothers spoke most deeply to your heart this month? Maa Dakshina Kali, Maa Khadga Kali, Maa Chinnamasta, Maa Chamunda, Maa Kurukulla, Maa Kali Kalmāṣa Nāśinī. Share your reflection in the comments if your experience may become the encouragement to other seekers to need today. If this month's guidance has brought you clarity in your heart, subscribe to the Kali Code and continue the sacred journey with us. If you wish to receive personal Maa Kali oracle reading or explore the deeper teachings of spiritually wealthy Gurukul, you are warmly invited to connect through the links provided in the description. Until we meet again, may Maa Kali grant you courage in uncertainty, wisdom in change, compassion in action, and unwavering recognition of your own divine nature. Hari Om, Jai Maa Kali, Har Har Mahadev, Hari Om, Tat Sat.